So I'd like to walk you through the building. This is a floor plan, so it's kind of a cut through. I know sometimes it's hard to read these plans, but we would come in, as you all did, through the portico here and through the front door. This room would remain intact as it is, again, in an effort to try to minimize the costs with that. But one of the main uses of this room is many other meetings, as you all have probably come to other functions and board meetings. So what we are doing is providing a multi-purpose room over here. This would have a dividing wall, so it could be broken up into two smaller rooms or combined to house a group like we are tonight. So that would be another benefit of this would remain for board meetings, but then the multi-purpose room could be for other community uses as well. We would, because we would be coming through the small meeting room off to the side here, we'd need to recreate it, but it's currently a little too small to function well. So we would size that to house the current needs for the Board of Trustees and staff meetings that occur right here. And it would just be, again, just right adjacent through that door, in fact, off to the side. We would have this main walkway here. This area could be shut off. Again, those rooms could be available for after-hours use. And then another piece of feedback we heard was keeping the administrative staff in the same location where they are currently. So town manager, assistant town manager, all of them are staying in their offices as intact as possible. This area, of course, will need to get a little bit of attention just because that's where we'd be tying into the addition. We have the building department right here, and that's we've heard that was an important need to get that as close to the front as possible, maybe have a counter or window right off that main corridor so that was easily accessible for folks that were coming in for their building permits. The Parks and Rec is the green over here. We have some opportunities for some open office spaces within that department. The finance department over here, the sheriff is up here in this corner, and the public works department over here in this corner. And again, some areas of shared open offices in that. So as I said, this got pared down to about 9,000 square feet, which was really quite a feat that my colleague Rebecca was able to get to. So moving on to what the exterior might look like. This is just an exterior view kind of as you approach from the parking lot that you all came from. This is the existing building endpoint. So this is the existing building as you know it today. There would be a conference room here, the multi-purpose room right here, and we kind of drew some attention to that, nice big windows since that could be really a benefit for community use. And then the office areas and the sheriff's area from that view on the exterior. So let's see if this is a fancy, oh good, there we go. This is kind of flying around as a bird might, kind of looking at the building. So before we started, just again, this is your existing building, the darker area, so the front door and entrance here. This is the boardroom that we're in right now. So this will fly around. Great, here we go. So again, the multi-purpose room right here, some offices along here, sheriff's area, public works to the west, Parks and Rec over here, and that's the current garage that you have back on the south side. So again, trying to really keep low, keep the roof slope in keeping with the existing building. This building is highly articulated, so we're trying, the walls push and pull and lots of different, 27 different roof slopes on this building, Rebecca. Pretty complicated roof structure. So we're trying to be compatible, but kind of tone it down just a little bit to ease the roof drainage on the addition. So that's the kind of a fly around. Would you like me to do that again so you can see that? It's a little bit fast. Run it again. This is the board meeting room there, multi-purpose as I mentioned. So this would be kind of a staff entrance both to the sheriff and public works. Alex didn't share that the public works office, as the former bridal suite, has really lush carpet. They didn't take the time to replace the carpet, and I think the guys always feel guilty coming in muddy boots on that nice carpet. So having a back door entrance would be helpful, and we'd do the flooring accordingly to be more helpful with that. So again, some of the changes that we've made since the previous 3 iterations that we shared with the town board a few weeks ago. The biggest one was really just trying to scale back the size. You know, every square footage costs money. So by pulling it back to the 9,000 square feet versus what we thought was maybe going to be 11,000 square feet has helped on that front. The one-story building, as I mentioned, that helped with the cost of an elevator and helped us get back to that smaller square footage, providing these potential rooms for community use beyond just town business and having those available for rental or use. Some open office layouts, as I mentioned, planning, and each of the departments has the ability to do that. And again, keeping the administrative staff, that was something that we heard feedback, and really trying to keep this building as intact as it is today, just again to reduce costs. You know, keeping that front door there, keeping the lobby as intact as possible, and just really minimally touching the existing building has been one of the main goals. So with that, what we'd like to do is we have boards of all of this information. I think we'll shut down the projector at this point. We have a site plan over here, and Paul, I think what we were thinking is that you and Alex and maybe some of the board members could talk to the background and some of maybe the site issues that you might have. Rebecca and I will be available over here with our information about the building design that we just showed you today. And we're happy to take any questions. And again, we do encourage you to write comments and notes on our boards as much as possible. Yes?
Liz, a couple things about process. So we've been going through a process of trying to refine the building, get it to a point where it's affordable, serves our functions, and so forth. Now we start the public process with this community meeting. We have a meeting with Planning Commission where they would review a special use permit and a major public improvement project approval. So that's scheduled for June 14th. And so that's your opportunity to provide public comments, to review what's been proposed here. It'll be a formal submittal to Planning Commission, a formal referral out. We have a traffic study that we're working on, parking calculations and all that. So that's the time where the public can review and comment on that, express their issues to the Planning Commission, and then it also goes to the town board, which right now is scheduled for June 27th. So that's your second opportunity to influence the design and all the other parameters that go into this project. So we started the public process because we hadn't refined where we're going with the building. So now we've kind of gotten it down. The town board actually hasn't seen this. This is the first time some board members have seen this. So we're going to start the public process with this meeting, Planning Commission, and then the town board. So that's what's going on.
I think you're in the back.
How much is this option?
Well, we are still figuring that out. Even Brian hasn't seen these yet. Do you want to handle that?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is, I mean, some of those other options that Liz went through, and Rebecca as well, they were fabulous options, but they were 12, 13,000 square foot options. They were in excess of budget. So that's, one of the primary reasons we're whittling this down to a minimal improvements in the existing town hall, 9,000 square foot addition, and that's something that we're working towards, given that budget number. It's roughly about $2.5 million.
And then how many people does this accommodate? This little plan?
In terms of total staff members, do you know that offhand with the program?
Well, it accommodates, I mean, really the existing staff that we have, the numbers that Alex talked about, and then it provides growth for, I think, four new positions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yet to be determined, but to identify some growth potential as well.
Peter Stewart was the original architect of this, and I was just curious if he was even wanting to be involved in it, or, you know, since he did this one, asked about it. It just came up, that question.
Good question. We went through a competitive bid process and solicited proposals from architects, and we hired Anson Callis. Mr. Stewart did not submit a proposal, and we didn't specifically reach out to him either.
And then I kind of had a question about sense of place. You know, this is a very eclectic town, and I was thinking of, I worked in this place in southern Vermont, Townsend, in this Grace Cottage Hospital, where people actually donated their homes, they gutted them, and the whole thing fit in the integrity of the town. And it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool experience to see that. And everybody supported it, and they really liked that, kind of that feeling. And it did a good symbiotic relationship, having that, those features of the exterior. And then what went on inside, went on inside. But I was just thinking about that as when we were showing design processes, that was something
So
that really worked.
different homes were
They were actually gutted.
gutted
donated
and
them,
remained in
and-
place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm thinking about this as not looking neighborhoodish,
Mm.
and that did look neighborhoodish. And I was thinking of that as you were speaking of, you know, that really worked well
Huh.
in the middle of a type of a rural, it fit in the sense of place of the town, but they were choosing to keep their integrity.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
really neat.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was even something that was considered in the design elements at one point.
It wasn't just because we had the property lines to work within, so I don't know if that was.
The exterior look doesn't always have to reflect what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yeah.
So there was some information about how originally this was going to be in the town center. There was going to be office space in the town center. It sounded like in one of the handouts that I read. And then it was changed to here during a board meeting. Is there any way just to fill us in a little bit about what was just the thought process behind that and what that looked like?
Staff can certainly do that, but do any of the board members maybe want to take a shot at that?
I can. Come up front. You're not twisting your necks. The early plans for Town Center did consider the possibility of moving Town Hall to Town Center. But we began to look at the costs of doing so, and the cost would be probably 3-4 times what it would be to expand this facility. We also like this facility. We like the location. We like how it functions, and there's a lot of history in having it here. There's a lot of other town elements, the Grasso Park and the Asti Park and so on. And moving it over there would kind of leave all of those features alone. So for cost reasons and for greater efficiency, the board said that leaving it in its current location would be the best option.
So you're gonna hang on to the bungalow over here and the little place over here and?
Yes, bungalow would be retained, and Chamber of Commerce would stay in there. Building department would move out of there, but Chamber of Commerce would remain in there. They are just so cram-packed in there right now, it's unreal. But it would be a nice place, and that would be another potential conference room as well for Chamber of Commerce. Right now, they kind of share that.
And then across the street,
Closest is going to
that
be taken.
building's going to be taken down. It's just an atrocious.
Giving it to the raccoons?
I just wanted to say one other thing about moving it over to the town center. The meetings that I attended, the sentiment from the citizens were they did not want that civic space to be government offices.
Yes.
That was the feeling
That's
in
good.
all of those meetings
Yeah.
that
Thank
I
you for-
attended.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's another good point. As a part of the town center development, the town gets an amount of money for civic space. And if you spend all that money on the town hall, I think people would really come unglued with that. The idea of money for civic space is library space, community space, potential recreation element type space, not necessarily offices.
So why couldn't the civic space go over here?
We talked about that as well, but it's a matter of cost. You've got all the cost of moving over there, and then you've got to repurpose this. So there's And yeah, so you just have to make a choice.
Part of that logic also was when you're bringing customers into an area to use the civic space and hopefully stay around for lunch and shopping, it made more sense over there. As auxiliary services and complementary services, to keep the civic component. So you have events, you're situated in to go to lunch very readily and shop very readily. So
And they couldn't go to lunch at the Superior Marketplace?
you could, but I mean, we're not taking all the traffic one way or the other. I mean, when I come to town hall, I can also go to Panera, whatever, but that's part of the thought process.
I just had some questions a little bit about the process. I mean, having been involved with many committees and sitting on the planning commission and watch how this town works and how development is slow. Development has always been hard to do in the town of Superior. And to watch this in a matter of 4 weeks, actually, and I understand now, not happy that that got published, but to actually have dates published where construction starts this year was pretty overwhelming. And I'm really curious. You're in this space today, you were in it yesterday, you've been this staff size for a while. We have always been really, really thoughtful about development. This isn't feeling like there's an opportunity to be thoughtful. It's feeling like we're hiring an architect, we're doing the designs, we want to get our new space, and we want to get moved into it. And, you know, residents have been talking about traffic over here. We've been trying to figure out how to, can we redo things, can we do anything here? That's all been denied, not denied, but just ignored or something. It hasn't happened. And here we are, we want to bring 35 people in here. We want to build this big space right across from small homes. And we're not being very thoughtful. We're wanting to start in like weeks. Like, I think that, what was the date? It was, can you talk to why this is so important to start to actually, I mean, and you know, and you're going through this in the summer. I'm going on, how many people here are going on vacation in the summer? Were you thinking that nobody would be here, so maybe we can get this through? Because that's kind of what it starts to feel like. I know that's sarcastic, and I'm sorry, but I'm feeling some of that sarcasm that I've seen many residents who I've watched at these meetings from original town feel before. Why? Why in the summer when nobody's going to be here? We're going to be gone, your active citizens are going to be gone, and you have meetings you already rattled off too that I mean, I don't think I'm going to be here for.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why this has to go so fast.
I don't feel like there's a rush. We're not feeling rushed to get things done by a certain
We
date.
are, based on schedules and meetings.
No, I understand.
You're giving us a meeting 2 weeks from now at a planning commission site review. That is a rush.
It's rushed.
Absolutely.
We had a week's notice about this meeting.
In the Q&A, we tried to outline some dates that the board has been discussing this for over a year. And,
Right.
well, no,
Very much more. Not as much as the development. You know, I mean, I know about the developments that are going on here, and I know the attention that we put to those developments. I've sat up there and I've listened, and if you're paying attention, you have that time. There's no time here. This is like, holy crap, where'd this come from? And yes, I understand this has been talked about over the years. I've sat up there and listened to it, and honestly, I thought town center was still a viable option, but I understand the cost. But and I don't even know that I have I love it much better than that first two-story monstrosity that was in there. But why September start date? Why summertime meetings? Why slow down? Concept plan, you know, we get 6 of them from developers, and we say no, we don't like that.
Well,
So now,
that's part
why
of
is the
that-
town board not sitting up there saying, whoa, staff, let's see some more concept plans. Let us think about this. Let's go talk to the residents. Let's go see what's going on. Just like, I don't know, Branch Castle. Do you know how long it took to get this town center done? Or any of these other developments? Can't we go that pace? maybe even somewhere middle ground between, town center and this, somewhere. Backs, whoop, maybe start next year, say, this would be a really cool thing to start next year, right? Can we talk about that?
Oh, it's all on the table. And we're starting that process tonight, and we appreciate everybody showing up, and we want to hear from people. Yes.
Well, I've been away for quite a while, and I came back and I started picking up on things again. When we have a long history with the town, you sort of start to think in a framework of what you remember. And so when I read in this article, the first phase of the project was hiring an architect. And fear struck my heart. And I thought, oh no, we have been here before. It feels like the cart before the horse to me, Mr. Mayor. And then I'm very, very thankful for knowing that the mayor, and I really respect and like some people on our town staff, love the post-flood mitigation work, and I had called and said, thank you so much for that. So I don't want to sound like a person who is always going to the town hall. But I'm very thankful to know that our town trustees and you, Mr. Mayor, are my fellow citizens. You live here. I'm so thankful for this. And I know that we can talk with you, and I know you probably have similar feelings to the feelings that we have. We were, those of you I know on town council, which is most of you, you were here when this was built. You were here with all of the changes. I have confidence in that. So I would suggest very, very strongly that citizens need an opportunity to talk with all of you before we push forward too quickly. And then the other thing that hit me, and I'm going to stop because I'm sure other people have things, but I'm very concerned about the timing with the number of developments going in, and I specifically refer to the one today across the street. It's huge. We have other things that are still going. We have things that were lying dormant that have risen up. I don't want us to be that splintered. I have concern about that. I say, put this one on the back burner. Let's get at it later. Then I will also, those of you who are here and remember the big shopping center there, what we call the Town 9, which isn't really the Town 9. That was never to have been. If it had been left to the developer, we would never have that buffer, that park. It was the town citizens who pushed on it. And it was the town citizens talking with the town trustees and saying, the developers will make billions. We know that. We know the developers do their work, they have their job. But they don't live here. They're not going to stay. And so I would say the developers gave us the Town 9. So when you express such a concern about finances, I would love to see Ranch Capital, others who are going to make billions here. I'd just love to see them. I'll just go pie in the sky. I'd love to see them give us a town center over across the street. Now that we go broke on it, that would be a gift for all the billions they're going to make. And I would urge you to explore that in depth. Those are my thoughts. I can have the thoughts.
Same thought. I think the biggest concern I have is, like, I'm a planner, but I need to work on large scale utility projects, and getting folks on board with purpose and need, it should always be the primary focus, I think, of any project. And kind of to your point, like, is there an opportunity now for us to go back and look at alternatives? Because what I'm hearing is in the middle of June, we can come in and review your plan, which is wonderful, but it doesn't sound like there's going to be any opportunity to look at, can we build over where sports authority is? Can you get the public involved, kind of go backwards quite a ways and look at, other ideas for how we can get this done? I feel like $2.5 million is a lot of money, and not really sure how that's going to be funded. So is there an opportunity to really start this process backwards, how we can hear and go through an alternative development with the public?
So a lot of the things you mentioned have been considered. the Sports Authority space has been brought up by several. It's a large box of empty space. It's a retail space owned by a private developer, owner, landlord. It's not suitable for town hall use or really any town use for a number of reasons. The biggest is it's retail space. It was built as such. You get a good retail tenant in there, they would generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales tax revenue. You put the town in there, it generates zero. They probably wouldn't even approve, the owners of that, probably would never even approve it, even if we decided we wanted to do that. So it probably would never get approved. It wouldn't be wise for us to do it just because we don't own it, we have no control over it. We already are leasing space in 2 spaces over there and have been for 5 years. It's worked in an interim state. It could continue working. I mean, this, all of this that we're doing now could continue. We could say, yeah, let's put it on hold. Let's think about it next year, the following year, it's kind of a kick the can down the road. At a certain point, I think we as the board or future boards or whoever board has got to make the decision. Do you want to improve your conditions or do you want to just leave it status quo? And so when this came up a year and a half ago, when the board was first introduced to the board, we had to make the decision, do we start going down this path or do we not? And that's, so I think, to your question, should you back up? We kind of have been there on considering a lot of different options.
And just because of citizen, I guess I personally don't feel though that we can fit in.
I
That's the biggest
and
issue.
I understand that, and I think that there's a lot going on in our community and in our world, and it's tough to keep the pulse of every single meeting. I mean, some of our meetings are not particularly that interesting, and so it's tough to keep a pulse on that. And it's kind of, in some ways, these kind of projects, it takes getting floor plans and it takes getting something real that people can see. I mean, we could post notices, we're considering town hall expansion. What does that mean until you start seeing things, in drawings?
I relate to that, what she said about purpose and needs, because I don't come down here very often, and I'm not really sure what services are going to be delivered better, or how this is going to help services get delivered better. And the only thing I come down here for is mostly town board meetings, and I don't think this room is expanding. So I don't see how you're getting any more community participation. The most important service a government can deliver is democracy. And sometimes you have to go and yank people in, but I haven't seen that happen. And I think this turnout is great, but I think the process could be a little bit better. So I'm really having a hard time understanding what $2.7 million is going to buy the residents, not the consultants or the
Sure.
contractors that come through here.
There are some residents that have probably never been in here, may never be in here. It's really about those people who are coming here for services, and it's also for the town employees to be more centrally located so they can operate more efficiently.
I know, but the old saying, in God we trust, everybody else bring data. So in your budget book, for each department, you list some metrics. And that's sort of the basis for building up your budget. Are you not hitting your goals now? And if you want to improve them, how are those going to be improved? It's just, kind of basic process improvement 101. And I haven't seen that. It's just like, we just want to deliver better services.
I'm sure that can be quantified. I think there were some numbers put in the Q&A about better efficiencies. Why don't we do a couple more questions and then we'll get to the board's ones.
I'm curious as to where you came up with the cost of developing a town hall and town offices in the town center, and why it's so much more expensive to build this up.
Well, you're building it from ground up, here you're adding on to an existing facility, so you need 15,000 here, you need 15,000 over there, and it's all new space over there. You know, parking is another, here is nice, you can drive in, park right in front. It's gonna be structured parking in town center. And that may or may not be as convenient for people who are just needing to come in and out for something. So, I mean, there was a number of reasons. Cost was one of the reasons, but there's a number of reasons. The biggest reason on cost was we wanted to be conscious of spending those limited dollars on true civic space, not office space that was going to be used primarily for town staff. Thought it would be better to sit over here. Yes.
I think that there is some reaction that's happening this evening, and I'll speak for myself. And one of the things that's happening for me is what Bob's pointing out. It seems to have happened very fast, and there seems to have been growth in this town that we had absolutely no say in. And I understand a lot of that has to do with the way this town is coded, which might need to be looked at. But suddenly we've got 2- and 3-story buildings, or garages, or monstrous new things built that we could not have any input in, and it just showed up. And it's very little shocking. It's not the character of the town. So now we have to suddenly look at this, which is a new idea, because we had thought it was over there. I did the price differences. I totally understand that. So I would second Bob's comment that we just slow this down a little bit so that we can be sure that the input that we're giving and that you're receiving is something that fits with us and fits in original town. We've lost a little bit of character lately, and that disappoints me. And there is room to, was a great suggestion about making the building look like it really fits and take into consideration the real impact, not just physically, but emotionally on what's going on here and people that are concerned.
Thank you.
I'm curious about the parking and what you know. If you're going to bring approximately 23 or 22 people from the outlying areas over here with their cars, I've not heard any solutions on the parking. And I'm also interested to know if any of you have walked through this town, maybe in the evening, to see what the effect would be by having additional people here to park and how it affected neighborhoods.
I'll let the architect answer the specifics about the parking, but one, thought that is, I think that traffic and movement around original town could potentially be improved by centralizing, because when you've got people driving in here for public works, sheriff, they come in here, they get redirected over there. They gotta go get in their car and drive, it's a half-mile away. And they're not walking over there, so they're driving over there. And if I'm driving from here to over there, I'm going through original town. I'm not, it's right only out of Coal Creek. So your only option is to go through original town to get over to Public Works or Sheriff. Now let's say they've got to come over here. They're coming over here through original town. And they might come out to Marshall, they might ride in on, but they're, so all of that movement is potentially going to be eliminated by centralizing here.
If I were in the town center, it would be eliminated.
Well, that is true, but that's not.
And Mayor, not only can Liz speak to that, but Alex may have some preliminary data from a preliminary traffic study as well.
Sure, just to speak to the parking, so the existing lot out here would remain. We would actually have just a few parallel spots here where those diagonal spots are on the alley. We would have some head-in spots along First Avenue, and then on West William is what we're looking at. And as we've been paring down the square footage, that also reduces our parking needs. So this is a first pass at the parking layout currently. So I'd be happy to talk to you in a minute and hear if you have concerns about this layout and what you might like to see. And then Alex, do you want to talk about the traffic?
Yeah, well, we're in the midst of preparing a traffic study, and the preliminary results show the addition of about 150 trips per day into this area, most of which will be accessing the site by the Casland, by First and Second. Very few trips will be occurring on Coal Creek Drive, and I think traffic actually on Coal Creek Drive, as the mayor described, will actually probably go down because of all the traffic right now that's going back and forth between the sheriff, the public works, and this hall. And we have a lot of staff traffic. I come over here 2 or 3 times a day. I won't have to make that trip on Coal Creek Drive, and my staff does as well. So those trips will be cut down, and our employee trips come in, but they'll be probably using the Casland to access the town hall. So we hope that traffic on Coal Creek Drive will actually be down.
If you guys have an added meeting room, what is the traffic consideration for that? If you're having public meeting space that is being added, how are you, I mean, I don't think that's accommodated for this 100.
Yeah, I mean, we've accounted for that in the traffic
That's
study.
only 150 parks per day.
And remember, parks,
And you can't, and so when you want to leave here and you want to go north, how do you get out of here?
we'd have to go up First or Second.
Through the neighborhood, right, the residential neighborhood.
And that was my earlier point. We've avoided the whole discussion about traffic in Richmond Town. And now you're adding more. I'm not concerned by you adding 30 trips, 40 trips, whatever. You're nothing. What you do here is nothing compared with the lack of planning for this area over the last 10 years has done. Nothing. It's minuscule. It's a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. Stop this. If you would put this energy into trying to figure out how to stop 2,000 cars a day going through our neighborhood that don't live here, man, everybody here would just be clapping and yelling and screaming and be all on your side. But you don't. You just didn't do it. And you put all the energy into hiring an architect and building a new town center. That's what the traffic problem is. It's not this building. It's not that. It's the 2,000 additional cars that have come down here because of the lack of planning in the last 10 years.
Why don't we go on to the boards? We're all going to stick around, so happy to entertain more questions individually.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
We would like to know if there is going to be some real pushback on this and not a meeting June 7th in front of the planning commission.
I don't have any, but I don't know. All right, yeah, I'd love to hear. I'd love to sit here and hear what this feedback has meant to you, and if it's going to go anywhere. I don't know about others, but.
And once again, I think we are embarrassed in front of these wonderful professionals who have done such great work. I feel like, giving it their all, giving it their best. But that step wasn't the next step that needed to be taken. That's the concern. And I always end up feeling like, oh, I didn't want to look her right in the eye because their work is so beautiful, their work is so thoughtful. But I think we have other work to do in the town. And the discussion about original town, I think it's important to point out also that this affects the entire community. It doesn't just affect original town. I have a network of people around, many of whom are up in Rock Creek, and I sent out a message that asked, over all these many years, to my friends, of all these many years and all the surveys you filled out and everything you were asked to do, did any of you ever write what I want the most is a $2.6 million expansion to the town hall? You would not believe the answers I got back from Rock Creek residents. Mostly, are you kidding me? When did this happen? We never asked for that. What about the other things that we might do in this community with $2.6 million? I think that's a major consideration, really major. And I, among many here, I'm sorry that we have to hear this kind of feedback, but it's important to
I'd rather see more change because we can look at these online. And, we can look at it a lot better. I'd rather see more exchange. And I'm kind of concerned about putting the sheriff's department down here. and even expanding it here anyway. Because you're right on a creek that flooded a few years ago. Why would you put your law enforcement right there? And they're kind of cloistered over here. And I know traffic's gonna increase because when town center gets built out, that's where most of your incidents are gonna occur. You're gonna have all kinds of people going through there into retail, hockey, soccer. There's gonna be a lot of testosterone in there. There's gonna be a lot of families up the hill. And you're gonna have the BRT people coasting through there and bike lane people riding through there. That's where the action's gonna be. And I think it's just strange to build a sheriff's substation here with an interview room and you're fingerprinting people and, you know, you're securing them
24/7.
all the time.
Yes, I asked that question. They're actually not putting a jail there, so they're not fingerprinting, they're not processing, interviewing. There's people coming in with a problem and discussing with, you know, the police department. So I did ask that question back in March. I was here for the meeting that this was discussed. The other thing that I would say is, nobody asked for a town hall, but we do ask for services from the town. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind.
I would just say that the town really doesn't manufacture any three-dimensional products. Almost everything they do is two-dimensional drawings, forms, permits, whatever. I don't know why you're not taking that kind of money and pursuing some sort of a digital town hall. I mean, why?
There's FTEs that go with town services.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you know, there's
Well, I'm not
FTEs,
saying you can't
there's,
talk to a person, I'm just saying, you can talk to them at their home.
So are you saying that the sheriff's substation would not be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year?
It would be available for them to go into 24/7 because they.
Yes.
This is not it's not a fire station. I mean, when they leave the sheriff's office, I mean, if they have a emergency call, they probably will turn on the sirens, just like the fire truck does when it leaves the fire station. I mean, most of the time they're mobile, okay? They're driving around on patrol. They need a spot to do reports, to do interviews, for the citizens to come in, for residents to come in and interact with them. And that's what is not functional now. The other big concern that I have is they're on a month-to-month lease over there. It is our responsibility as a town to provide them office space. We do not currently have a backup plan for if Brixmor says, you know what, we got a great retail tenant here and they're sure gonna generate more sales tax dollars than your sheriff's office is. So guess who's out? They're out. And, you know, there might be another vacant, you know, bridal store over there or something that we could stick them into, more tenant finish costs, probably another month-to-month lease. It's just not a good long-term solution. So we need somewhere for them to locate, be there over the long term, and be in a reliable, functional space. So are they going to be open 20? You know, no, it's not. This is not headquarters. I mean, it's not going to be open to the public 24/7. It's going to be open to them 24/7 with key card access or however they do that, because they're on 24/7.
If I understood correctly, the sheriff's department is going to be in the northwest corner of the new building?
Correct.
In this area?
Correct.
Is this the only parking for them?
No, not necessarily. We can designate because we have their private vehicles or their patrol.
But those are all residential areas. You've got them parking on their main entrance, in and out on residential areas rather than coming through the main entrance. I mean, that's going to be traffic right there. We live half a block from it. So your vehicles, I mean, in terms of planning, you've got them coming and going 24 hours a day, maybe not a huge amount of vehicles, where east, I mean, you've got west, southwest, and directly north are all residential areas.
There's a possibility, you know, the sheriff's department
across the street.
We can look at the south side.
Well, but there are residences right here. That seems like a poor consideration of the character of the neighborhood.
Well, the traffic, the sheriff's department traffic in the middle of the night are very minimal.
How many vehicles do you think are worked there and how many sheriff's vehicles? I mean, there's 6 or 7 vehicles typically over there where they are, and, you know, it's a consideration.
Sure. No, I appreciate the comments.
We live right across the street from them, and just to echo those concerns, on days when there are Chamber of Commerce meetings or other meetings in the evening, our whole block fills up. And that's just Chamber of Commerce meetings. And to have, more sort of community space, I think depending on where it is located and where people are going to park, if they don't park in the bigger parking lot or any of the parking lots, they all park in the residential streets, and that just, makes it a little bit more challenging. Just for those very surrounding blocks.
I think those are valid concerns, but I think every community faces that. I mean, do you build your parking to maximum capacity all the time, or do you utilize some of the surrounding spaces as considered overflow for those special events? I mean, Louisville has gone through this same thing when they developed the Main Street with restaurants. They actually took away parking. Put all the tables out on the street. They took away parkings. They didn't build any new parking. You know where all that went? I mean, it went out. It dispersed to the neighborhoods. And they're not everybody's happy about that, but that's so a lot of people have that challenge.
So hopefully we learn and not just do it. It's important to note also that I don't know if you have air conditioning, but I don't think anybody does. Or we don't have air conditioning. You know why that's important? Because all of our windows are open almost most of the year. Daryl sits here, we sit in the house, you hear every car that goes by. These poor folks on the corner who now Conoco's open 24/7, round, and round. Every car, because the windows are open, the doors open. Because this is an old town. That's part of the character. Thoughtfulness, some time to think this through and figure out how to change the way traffic's flowing first, maybe. Be thoughtful about this.
I don't think most of us are in disagreement that it would be nice to have your offices consolidated and people in one location. I think what we are asking for is much consideration as residents. You have had meetings, you say, but they are not necessarily public. When you have meetings and retreats that people have to take off work from, or there are no agendas and we don't know they're happening, those are not public meetings. So this is absolutely fantastic that all these people are out and they're from all over town. We have concerns about how much it costs, the traffic, the people that live most adjacent to that, and these are all considerations that you need to take into account, and you should have taken into account before we were seeing these architectural drawings.
I appreciate the comments. I mean, we've got several board members here that are
Rebecca's taking down all those notes, right? You got them all those questions so we can respond.
Is there any member of the board, the planning commission, or anyone involved in this who lives in Old Town? That's what I thought.
How about staff?
There may be a staff member. But no one involved in any of these decisions is in Old Town.
Well, we're valid point, but we're a 4 square mile town. We all live here in town.
So you don't live in a regional town, you live in an original town impact. That's what we're telling you, and you seem to be denying that this pushback is because this is being done to original town in some sense.
Other questions? Comments?
Yes.
What do you think? Who put me up here to be the mayor's show?
I think you're right.
One quick comment about meeting space, and I do support the idea of having town services consolidated where people can communicate and work together. I think that's yet satisfied that this is the proper place, but we'll see how that goes. But I had thought that, and hoped that meeting space for this room would be able to be increased in the process of this. Looking at this drawing and just wondering if this does get built, if it would be possible to move the multi-purpose rooms, which appears to be the same size block as this meeting. Swap that with the
Swap these two.
smaller meeting room in between, and somehow consolidate spaces when we do have an overflow, as has happened in the past for important meetings. This is a pretty good turnout tonight.
Oh, you're right. We've definitely had board meetings that are overflowing, and we did talk about this. So
We
maybe
did
talk
talk
about
about
some
that.
of the
Hall or
Yeah.
outside, and then from the weather.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
talk about some of the challenges.
And so, so that was actually something that, that Clint had suggested, was trying to look at creating the board room space in the addition. And truly it came back down to cost, because all of the technology equipment in here, the built-in dais, all of that is kind of more expensive construction. And so we were weighing that because, again, trying to keep a light touch on the existing building. And you've probably heard before, you know, do you build your space for Easter Sunday, that kind of thing? And usually you don't. You try to keep it to what the more typical is. This would allow, you know, overflow within this room, you know, piped in. I know it's not the same as being in the space, but that would be an option. But it really came down to cost, because if we created that room, it's actually maybe a quarter, again, as big as the multi-purpose room. So that's more square footage in the addition, and then the cost of redoing this room. So that was a judgment call in terms of cost at this point. So, valid concern, though.
It would be cool to see the dais put on tracks so it could
We talked about that too. We've done that before
We
on
wanted to see it
other.
sink into the floor and kind of rise up when we were ready to meet. Too expensive.
So, I'm a Colorado certified police officer, and I can probably talk a little bit on where the substation is, where the police department is. And the thing is, with the substation and the report writing, and every time you have a call for service, that's how your sergeant wants you to do, but a lot of times you go back and report or call. And even if you're not going out, code, you're still probably going to race your engine right through all the time. And that is the nature of open work. There's no such thing as really just a routine call. So you always want to get to people quickly, even if you're not going to lights and sirens. You drive fast. That's one of the reasons why you I'm serious. We're the worst drivers there are. You know, you're always looking at your FET, you got your radio going, you know, they want to have your work phone and talk about distractions. So, you know, and people come up, we have a substation that people aren't supposed to come to, and people knock on that door all the time. And it's remote, it's out of the way, I mean, yeah, it's marked, so I mean, there are going to be people there, so. You know, and then there's the private vehicles that they're going to have there, and there's going to be a lot of back and forth. And that doesn't give you a feeling of safety, that gives you a feeling of this is really a lot harder going back and forth past the house.
And I would like to echo those comments. I think that moving the sheriff's substation over here is one of the gravest concerns that the people of the regional town have who are living on William Street. Is there any way that that piece could be moved someplace else? Even if you had to move your public works and other departments to consolidate them, is there any way the sheriff's substation could be moved someplace else? Because that's not part of town hall. You're contracted to provide them space so that they can do their job. Wouldn't it be better for the sheriff's substation to be across the street in the new town center?
It could be any number of places. Maybe it was at fire station number 5 for number of years in a very compact space, and then I'm not even sure where it was before that. But, so yes, I mean, to answer your question, yes, it could be wherever we decide to put it. The desire was to get services under one roof, so better efficiency, better interaction with the public. So they had one place to go, town hall. A lot of town halls. If you think of other towns, most town halls, smaller towns have the police station in fairly close proximity to their town hall.
Louisville doesn't. Louisville has it separate.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Superior needs to do as well.
It certainly could be done.
Which would be fewer than 9,000 square feet that we would need, and fewer parking spaces that we would use. If
But we got it. But it's something, it's something else to build. I think.
Why couldn't they move into the ice skating rink across the street? They're going to be moving into their new building. That would be the perfect spot to put them over there.
All could be considered.
And there's plenty of parking over there.
We're coming up on 7:30. Want to respect people's time.
You said small towns. My dad's a school teacher. I've visited thousands of small towns. I'll tell you one thing, they'll have libraries. Just want to throw that out. Well, people might see it. But I've never.
Okay, thank you all for coming. We appreciate the feedback, ideas, and we want to continue the dialogue. So thank you.
Thank you. For what?
Yeah.
I like the
Bring that spreadsheet up.
Oh, okay.
So we looked at all the communities.
Yep.
The population and then employees. This 45 includes the sheriff's
department.
And so this is the space allocated now.
Yep.
To the others and then the space in the.
Did this go out to everyone?
No.
Because I don't think people understand this. Yeah. They don't.
I knew you asked.
No, but people don't understand this, that I can build another police station. I mean, in 3 years we could say screw Boulder County and we want to build our own. I don't know why we want to do that. We're already paying out the nose for fire services that we're one of the most expensive. People don't understand that either.
Good point.
Well, no, it's the same thing. Of course, I'm not going to tell you to build, but I want my parks to look nice, and I want my roads plowed, and I want my stuff done, and I want my...
Basically, what we're doing is we're managing the company.
Yeah. Thanks for your input. So, yeah, well... I'm sorry, I was watching. Lack of paying attention on your part.
And I'll pass on the match.
We can do anything about that, it would be better. I know it's just printing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really crushed. It's going to increase the cost for the architect, get the material, and then the problem is, so then the approval of the full, start building in there for the first time.
That was my reaction to it.
Okay, well, I'll pass it. We're going to chat about it.
Given whether it's all up the place already, that's just how it's like, no matter what you're saying there, you're trying to fill this down off roads.
I will pass that on.
Hard to deal with that. I was just really thinking about moving the police station to town Because that's where the action's going.
Well, it is, and typically you'll get police substations, maybe an officer or two over there to protect them. At the end of the day, we'll have to check with Chamberlain, but, I'm not sure sometimes they want to be actually in the center of it. They want to be kind of one step removed. Obviously quick access too, but we'll chat about that a little bit more and get some thoughts back to you guys about that.
It's the speed that is probably the biggest we all know we've been talking about it. I didn't know we were talking about it. But I didn't expect that to be pushed back. Totally.
You didn't?
Totally. That's a lot back there to add on to for years.
Well, we have, and I know two people in front of brand new. They live right across the way, so I can cut them some slack. But a lot of these other folks who've heard this time and again, maybe my sympathy level is not as high with them. But we'll work through it.
Well, thanks. This could be.
Well, thanks for swinging by.
It was better than doing this.
Yeah. I'll get that, yeah. Thanks, Joe.
I was just envisioning the process you're going to go to when you start developing, if the developer ever comes forward
with the farm? Oh, with the Charlotte's property. Yeah, I mean, and you, as you know, you have very limited control over a lot of that property because it's used by RIDE for a big chunk of that. Yeah, I mean, that will get people totally unglued. But again, as much as we can.
Rogers Farm.
Yeah,
I mean, that actually got approved for us a decade ago.
Yeah, you're right. If people are freaking out about this, that's nothing comparatively, but that's going to happen soon enough. Yeah. No, he's around. Yeah, so if you want, you should be here if you want to chat with him separately about it. Well, you can get rid of him. Sorry, fine. So he'll be here next couple of days. Okay. Yeah, he was here, so that's been time. Right.
Pick my car up, on the other side. Fire Bridge.
and say, nice job. I'm Sandy.
I know Sandy.
Say, I thought you guys did a great job of putting together the materials for tonight. It's too bad we didn't have them 18 months ago. You might not have had the problem, but you did a beautiful job of what you put together tonight.
Well, we'll hopefully, not hopefully, we'll listen to what people say,
Yeah.
and, you know.
But I just wanted to say, I
Well,
thought you
thank
did a nice job.
I appreciate that.
Because you guys get beat up all the time. But,
Oh,
and I
well.
thought the developer did a nice job of coming up with that fourth design. I'm much happier with number 4 than anything I've seen. Yeah, so anyway, everybody jumps on you, and I just want to come up and say, good job. Very good job.
Appreciate it. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Is our jump drive still somewhere?
So this was.
But I'm just thinking that you can do more, maybe this looks like my house, and this is like that kind of thing. Just so that the people who are looking at it, and they have
my guess is we'll have a couple of conversations, and then so we'll chat with Matt in the morning, and well, the good thing is they love you, they love Trans Pittman, and they can blame staff for the process. See, you heard me say, good luck getting to that breakout. I know you want to get to those breakouts so bad. Well, a lot of people they want to talk to him. This worked out well. This was okay, good. Yeah, this is good that you get this confidence. I wouldn't worry too much about how much I
I'll probably type it up for us.
This is their comments. It'll be the same comment here about any development. You need to play forward about traffic. Allows us transition out. We brought back our own sergeant. So Jim is very familiar with that. So it allows us to talk about how staff will mobilize out of here, how we'll respond out of here. So, let's go to here and have responses to all these things coming up. Thanks for coming. Welcome to folks
they're in that house right there, that has the big picture windows.
Yeah, we're on this. Yeah, Dan's that whole block is, Dan's actually that industrial, which has multi-use by right, and then beyond that.
One of the safest places.
No,
I think the fire department has some other meetings and concerns about some of the things that people are firemen. They talk about
we don't do that. Don't get too high on your hopes. But that's good. I'm sorry. That's You're allowed to put a bathroom.
No, I
When that's all done, you can send it something else.
What will happen is he's speaking to Chelsea. The other folks on the list are
Get them out for a shower like they do in Cape Cod.
Yeah, that would be great.
So one of the big contractors, her information he's housing and all the other developments and all the aspects of the two guys on trips and this is not sure what you could do, but that's fine. I don't know what the better is.
They passed an ordinance that changed it, basically said, what used to say, pull a trailer out, you gotta put a foundation on, now you can put a trailer.
Oh, yeah, that whole thing was brand new.
No, everything's 1984. You can pull a trailer out, stick a trailer in as long as it meets 1984. Or 1984 inspection.
Part of the fabric.
I think it is. That's the way it is. Right now, that's all Nobody cares. I mean, a lot of us knew that those
a square limit, so they're going to be example.
Yeah, nice.
Hall or in Hudson right now, so they.
Yeah, I assume that the architects, that's what they do for a living. It's like, architects.
No, but I mean, but there's, and I appreciate that. But just the specific municipal uses.
Adding on to my house,
See the tracks they don't love, I've never in my life, I had yes, I told everything, it's insane.
So does that mean
Like 7 years for most out of taxes, it was great.
Well, and I'm sorry to get on a soapbox, but you know, the only tax entity that was not raised their taxes was actually reducing their taxes.
Oh, it's kind of superior. They actually,
we just asked you?
what I do like is like having the showers, because I think like in Alaska, and a lot of people didn't even have it, but it's not allowed around here. It was really nice to have a shower.
Like an RV or something. And this cold weather, we're doing that.
Wait, I went to Orange County, and one time last winter, there was like they sit on the shelf, and said, we want to take on, and it was like, there's a blizzard coming, not to be for 30. I saw these spiders, like, and they're like, it's like the wind is like 9 miles an hour, it's like cars on the side of the road. It's brutal. I was recklessly
Wyoming and I worked
We talked about seventh graders convictions for a year. It's okay, I worked for elections, and the one thing you can bring beer and you can bring pizza from the place, we have to stay within 100 feet and stuff. We have to put it aside for 100 feet, so we can set up like a pizza group. I've never seen it. I'm like, I would be all for that. I would get people out voting at some point. Even helping people like
So the planning commission is clear on just the police house, not the board's
Oh, man, like, oh my, I'm like, oh, what's funny, nobody. Political, and that's all I want to talk about, right? So I'm like, I know, and I'm just like, my daughters, because I wouldn't work, and I'm like, oh my god, I did it great. They charge too much anyway. It's not our town, right? I realized I love it.
All right. What are you gonna do with those notes? We're just gonna see
I told Rebecca not to spend too much time just on random comments.
I believe he is. I think Alex and I are trying to get hold of him first. We'll start with you. Take a stop. Take a
That they go on and they apply, and
Just have to go. Wouldn't that be cool if these donations have a sister school, have a sister do it, like, it's
they're just really excited about being involved and active, and they'll be really good having intimates. That whole strong.
Something was really important for who is
expect to go right there. And they go empty nesters, single parents.
We don't complete the house.
Sorry.
We try. We pass that.
But then when you repair something that's damaged, it's on front of your house, straightened out, and then you think, oh, that was a little uncanny. How about your place? I mean, these kids are like. Everybody, I remember saying this is yeah. No, you're doing it. I also reminded, I went into them in a restaurant, so I found that really lost. They really, really are. Huge choices. We have Indian green burgers so we got more work to do. There were 2 kids in the so they started talking about it's great. I mean, but it was I have 3 sons, and my voice would come in.
You get 30%. I can go look at the report every day, and if I see somebody people have, that big day
He's looking at me. Oh my gosh. Yes, actually, that's where it now.
You're silent.
Anyway, well, anything fun this summer? Anything coming up fun for you? Are they coming? How old are they?
And it was like about like this high, and there were 2 coming down the hill. So I did my kids.
No kids? She's right now over in Sweden and prior to that she was a month in Mexico and she's just a trial for a world. I just wish you could. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure it out. Saying the revenue. To be like grandma, oh, but it won't happen. I know, actually, it was supposed to come. The contractor sent a picture of our backyard on the south side. And I got this
No, that's not.
I think you should provide everyone with tennis shoes.
I hadn't thought about it the way they're describing it, so it's worth
Or a shuttle.
you know, they don't like it as bad.
Found the locations.
So I don't know. Yeah, and if we have it so that they park over here or whatever, you know, and the other thing is everybody says that they always understood, you know, that was gonna be over there. I think it's better. I think.
They're needed. Longer than
Always good to see you. We get to run. The real problem is that the town center, Ranch Capital doesn't want us there. They don't want to give up any of their land for parking lot and for a new civic town hall. You know, the only place.
I told Bill to call Larry and tell him.
I told him that when he came in.
I'm not sure.
Or last week, you know, just tell them that you originally was $10 million for cruise. We got down to $10 million. 6 million for parks, which should be the and $4 million for, I know. So if we don't know, it's not enough. Now, the other thing that I never heard that expectation, except I appreciate tree banking or something kind of plan along that First Avenue. So when you
Really consider this something. You need to usually go and sometimes I go this answering machine, but I tried some kind of not be just and moving the business thinking force.
Chip is doing it somehow. When I saw that, I go, oh, no, I noticed that. And then I never realized, you know, we're only one person saying it.
Absolutely. They gave it their own. They gave it their own. I discovered who she talks and I don't know, we have no guarantees in life. You shouldn't sell them, but I was just so on something. Yeah, thank you. You mean you can't?
Well, Suzanne, do you know anything about that? The chamber? When the chamber meets in the little bungalow where the cars park?
I only heard what I heard, so I do not know about Bob.
Okay, you think Bob would know? Oh, because he's on the chamber. Okay,
So
yeah,
I
because
think,
he's a chamber.
they only have so many spots in a small room. The chamber was used, the multi-purpose room.
No, they want to stay in the bungalow.
For the offices, for the promotion.
Well, I
They
don't
use the
know.
multi-purpose room and then that takes the break.
Well, she said, what's her name, Heather Craycraft said that she's got so many needs for spaces. But the other thing is, as if and when the town center gets built, and if the St. Julian, I call the St. Julian or the St. Andrews, for example, one of this hotel.
Don't start me there.
No, and, you know, frankly, my husband calls it St. Andrews Hotel, I call it St. Julian, because it's a smaller version of the St. Julian's.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, so if the St. Andrew and St. Julian's go together, there would be meeting space. And actually, they even suggested that they would like to have a community space in their hotel. Not civic, not town hall, this is community like meeting space.
I'm with you.
And they would manage it. Now, there's a concept that this new Ranch Capital government takes for it. I said, I like it. Because then we as a town don't have to screw around building a building and maintaining it. We just kind of lease it or rent it from the St. Julian's Bank.
Well, thanks for all you do in addition to trying to have a life.
Yeah.
I know, I'm always.
I know this-
cognizant of this.
This
Yeah.
volunteer position.
Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you.
They're doing, she's doing great,
Your
yeah.
professionalism, and I always, I said, I said, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and she does, she's very good.
Thank you.
Okay. So we had to
Yeah.
figure out a way to, because, and you know, it's like, this, we need to talk about that in executive session and think about that. Is that could change? Right, so that's what I would say to you as you plan this again, keep the parking all over here. And use the space for moving the buffer. Or, you know, there could be parking here, I don't think that matters, there's no residences there. I know somebody said that, but we don't know they don't live along there.
This was the closest.
Yes, right there, right there. Right. But definitely,
Yeah.
think about buffer.
Yeah,
That's all.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
And Paul, first time I heard tonight that the planning commission's gonna look at this, and then we're supposed to look at an FTP? I mean, a zoning, a rezoning thing, or
Yeah, special use permit.
in a month? I have a little problem with that myself. Speed, appearance of moving too fast, especially after, just from here.
I will pass that on to the manager.
And Bob's got a good point, but behind, cool.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's part of the problem. Now, you hear me, yeah. It just depends on which way the wind is blowing. I like option 4 better too. That was very good. I'm just telling them though, they have to have a buffer. You can't just have the parking right on the street, you have to have some kind of tree on this side over here on First Avenue, you've got to. Even if you look at the section 16 of the planning code, and you talk about the RC, the RCS, or whatever residential construction special district, or whatever, you know, concept residential, concept special, what is that, you know, RCS or RSC? And like, there you have to say you have to buffer it or, you know, conform. Conformity is the big thing that no one ever, it should conform with the surrounding area. Doesn't mean it has to be exact, it doesn't have to mean it has to be residence, but it has to at least conform in some way. And I would highly recommend put trees or something like that in your next design. All right,
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Lori.